And after that, I talk about, I go quickly. For the structure application development, we created structure chart. We consider for the cohesion and coupling for different modules. Then we talk about drawing of the structure chart. In order to complete it, you review DFD, identify modules and relationship, add couples, loops and conditions in your structure chart, and analyze structure chart and the data dictionary that we created um, in the data flow diagrams in that stage already. You also have to consider the data dictionary in this stage as well. In terms of object oriented, we say that, okay, apart from the traditional one, we may use object oriented as well, by just prepare the object model, like this. After that, when you have to implement the object oriented designs, we have to translate object methods to program code modules. Also determine the event or message that you have to trigger, use them for triggering the execution of each module as well. And then we also have to consider the cohesion and coupling in the object oriented as well. After that, we talk about agile application development. The newest agile methods that we can use is extreme programming. That we have to use like this kind of things like user story, release plan, iteration cycle, iteration planning meeting, parallel programming, and test-driven design. So this kind of thing, you can see that we have to just like heavily work together with the programmers, system analysts, and users. And we do this kind of thing iteratively. And in the future, for the agile development, somebody just like claim that it lacks of discipline and produces a system of questionable quality because you do it many times. Also, by users give heavily the feedback to the system as well. So sometimes if you say that you want your company has a standard, but if the users want to change, sometimes you may have to just like follow the instructions as well, because this one we use agile methods. But before we implement agile development, the proposed systems and development method must be examined carefully, whether the agile methods work with this team or not. Suppose the users, they always don't have the time for you, agile may not work, because if the programmers and system developer, if the programmers and system analysts, both of us are available for discussion, but if the users is not available, there is no one to give us the feedback. Is it okay or not for this module? Something like that. So agile method might not work. We may have to go back to use the traditional way instead. And you have to know that one size fits all solution does not exist. It means that from project to another project, when we set up agile method, members in each subgroup or in small team may be different, depends on the team dynamic. So that's why it doesn't have one size fit all. After that, when you decide already what techniques do you have to use for the development of the application, we come to the coding. Then it depends on what programming language have you been using. Okay, class, before I move on to the next one, okay, can you please type in the chat box? I just want to know what programming language did you learn during the classes in MUIC. Okay, for computer concepts 101, the programming 1, programming 2, what programming language did you study before? Can you please type your answer into the chat box, please? Someone, can you help me? I just want to know what language you know. Python, Java, Scala, C. Anyone study for Ruby or R in any subject before? Ruby or R? Yep. Okay. What about C++? Do we still have to study it? Did you study for C++? Only C in the low level. Okay ครับ free elective. What about object oriented ครับ which programming language that อาจารย์ use or Java? Okay, thank you ครับ it's changed already because when I taught long time ago we use C++. Okay, you use Java, that's good. So that means right now you know both Java and Python and R, Scala as well. Okay, that's very good นะครับ Okay, so these kind of different kind of programming languages that we studied นะครับ will lead us to the coding part here. You can see that in this one นะครับ it depends on what programming language that you have been using นะครับ one thing I have to tell you is that in the same information system you have to use the same language นะครับ in the team. You can't say that okay this module we use Java, that module we use Python นะครับ don't do like that because it will make the whole information system นะครับ once you integrate all of them together นะครับ it will not be smoothened นะครับ so that's why when you have to decide which programming language that you have to use, normally the system analyst will discuss with you นะครับ before you really have to start your work. So that means if you consider นะครับ the project timeline นะครับ the information system project timeline before นะครับ the user start doing their DFD นะครับ you know already what programming language you have to use. Some of the project นะครับ some of the information system project you know even just before the customer sign the contract. Why is that? Because some of the information system project นะครับ the users they have the TOR นะครับ TOR let me just type it for you TOR นะครับ TOR stand for terms of reference. What is it? Term of reference. Sometimes นะครับ I mean internationally for the TOR นะครับ we may just like talk about we call it as okay or RFP request for proposal นะครับ so that means when you have this kind of document นะครับ when you have the I mean like when the customer would like to have any information system they send the TOR to you นะครับ so when the TOR is created นะครับ term of reference inside they will specify that what programming language that you have to use นะครับ so when the oh sorry I just see from พรกมล TOR no ครับ not browser okay I used it long ago for the TOR as well as a browser นะครับ this is terms of reference it's the business term นะครับ term of reference it's just like a booklet or it might be just like paper นะครับ a document talking about the kind of software that you have to use the period of time the budget นะครับ that they can pay for you number of people the place that you can work นะครับ during the project something like that when you have this นะครับ already you know what programming language that you have to use sometimes นะครับ users do not know anything they say that they would like to have the information system only but they don't have any ideas about programming languages นะครับ then the system analyst may have to talk to you นะครับmay have to talk to the programmers first or may have to discuss with the software house นะครับ what kind of programming language that our teams นะครับ or our company is like keen for example when I ask you like this I know that there are couple of group of people some of you are keen at Python นะครับ some of you are keen at Java then if I say that okay for this task they want to have all web-based นะครับ and the interactivity to have the interconnection between the web and the database I may say that okay I want to recruit the programmers team who are fluent in Java นะครับ to do this one and then I'll tell the customer that okay we think that okay for this project we'll use Java to develop something like that นะครับ okay it depends นะครับ because some company I mean like let's say especially if it's the transition time from generation to another generation when I mean like when you do the coding for a while I mean not in the studying anymore if you just like graduate already and then you have to do the job in programming นะครับ or developing the software at that period of time even you know Java very well but it might be the time that the new standard or new programming language is coming out and you don't know it but the system analyst or the customer may say that they want that programming language what will the company do นะครับ they have two choice the first one recruit more people who are keen at that new programming language or if you say that okay right now Java team is available นะครับ but Java team doesn't have the idea of XXX language at all นะครับ and what to say the project will be started after New Year so that means right now we have 1.5 months what should we do normally the company may recruit the trainer to train you for the new programming language so that you can save the time or your boss may say that okay can you just like learn for the program the XXX programming language within a month because we are going to start it on after New Year time something like that there are a couple of ways that the company can do นะครับ in order to use that XXX language นะครับ so after that when you start coding already นะครับ you also need to check for all of the things that might be limitation of that programming language as well นะครับ okay so that you can avoid it and after that นะครับ when you finish the coding part already the next part that I told you on last class was really important นะครับ is testing of the system and testing of the system here is not just test a program นะครับ it's not just testing a program it's the whole system testing but you need to have 3 steps of testing the first step unit testing each programmer does it by him or herself นะครับ integration testing when you join or when you integrate different modules together นะครับ what about in the interconnectivity of the input and output from one module of one program to another program do they work properly or not if it doesn't work or if there are still something wrong you have to go back and fix once you go back and fix you may have to do the quick unit testing once again before you do the integration testing once again นะครับ next one once you integrate everything together for the fully functional system let's say if you have like 10 modules altogether then you have to just run from step 1 to the last step นะครับ but testing the system here นะครับ in this slide นะครับ it is for our part that is programmers and system analyst part นะครับ we need to have another testing that is also really important we call it as users acceptance test or we call it as UAT นะครับ What is users acceptance test? Users acceptance test is the test from users. They don't test each unit. They don't test for the system, but they test for the whole thing, for the whole information system for you. That means you have to pass system testing already. You have to pass system testing already. So when it's passed, then you just send this kind of system for the user's acceptance test. When you have user or acceptance test, how can the users test it? Because user doesn't know any programming. We don't need the programming skill from users at all. The things that they have to do for us is that they just go to the system, go to the information system. For example, they log in into the system first and go to each page and entering the data. After that, if it shows the error, they have to let you know. So, and if you say that you have 10 modules, how can a user knows where to go? Normally, users acceptance test for the big system, we don't use just one person. If we say that we have 10 modules that are used by 3 departments in the company, so that means you need to have the users from those 3 departments to test on the UAT. And in each in each department, you may have 3 or 4 users to test. How can we test? The user acceptance test will test the system by having a tools that we call test scripts. Test scripts will be prepared by system analysts. What is it? Test script looks similar to user's manual, but it has some more details for the feedback and comments. For example, I may say that for my test script, number 1, login. So the things that users have to do is that, navigate to login page, go to www. blah, 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 and then enter the user ID and password. In the test script, you also have to prepare the data that users have to enter as well. For example, user has to enter user ID XYABC. Password is 1235, something like that. This one you have to print in the test script that enter user ID XYABC and password 1235. Suppose this is the wrong password that you intend to let the users test. So you may say that, when users type user ID and password that you provide, what happened on the screen? The things that user may have to do is that you may write down a table, you may prepare a table and let the users to type on what's going on. For example, user may type that it shows invalid password or user ID. Or you may say that, you want the users to capture the screen and paste it into this script. After that, you may say that, re-enter the user ID and password again. And right now, it might be the correct one, So you may ask them, what do you see? So you may have a table to let the users to type in that, this one, it leads me to the main menu. And you may ask them to capture the main menu screen onto this script. After that, in details, what else? If you say that, this is the test script for the sales representative. The things that the sales representative has to test is that, you say that, firstly, log in. But for the sales representative, login screen, you don't ask them with the wrong password anymore. You just want them to put the real password. And after that, when the users just enter already, you say that, click to choose the product and enter the specific amount, like 10 pieces. So you may ask them that, what is the total amount? So what does it mean? It means that your system will calculate the total amount. For example, if it's 1,000 baht, users will have to type 1,000 baht in the script นะครับ it's just like the answer sheet something like that once the user follows your instruction what do they see suppose the users type 1,200 baht because they see on screen that is 1,200 baht this is the error because in the reality it must be 1,000 right so the users I mean you may just like tell the users in the test script that okay do you see 1,000 if the user said no I see 1,200 this one okay for the test script here it has some error the system analyst will have to send the feedback to the programmers and say that okay for order entry screenนะครับ it caused the error because right now it calculate the total amount wrongly the users have to do like this normally user acceptance test it takes maybe 1 or 2 days at least in order to do acceptance test because everything must be tested thoroughly ifนะครับ if there are like some minor errorนะครับ or some small error for example if we say that okay it display Thai baht sign instead of US dollars นะครับ you may just like inform the system analyst might inform the programmers to change or to fix it immediately นะครับ and after that you just ask the users to test it once again พรกมล it's okay ครับ Gritin laptop is upgrading he will be back okay right okay นะครับ so when the users test it already นะครับ if there are some minor error just ask the programmer to fix immediately นะครับ and then ask the users to test it again if it's passed already let them go on to the next page until all the script has been tested why do we call it as users acceptance test if the users test everything already and they are okay with all the results that they test นะครับ you have to let them to sign off นะครับ to sign off the document that means the users accept this kind of system already นะครับ they test it already and they are okay with the results so who can prepare the users acceptance test I told you earlier that system analysts normally prepare the test script but the one who know the flow of the system more than system analysts is key users you I mean as a system analyst with the key users might have to help each other to prepare the test script for the UAT so and the one who tests the system is not the one who tests the UAT script is not the key users นะครับ because it will be the end users who really use this system the key users are the one who just decide on something only นะครับ they might be the head นะครับ or the boss of the end users นะครับ so this kind of thing when you just like finish the users acceptance test already the user sign off that they okay with this system then you can just let them use it นะครับ so that means the user acceptance test is important because you need the signature of the users if they sign off นะครับ on the booklet for the test script that means they accept your system already นะครับ you can just like normally what is the milestone นะครับ for this UAT once the UAT has been signed off normally we get more money we get the money sorry not more money we get the money for example once you sign the contract with the users we may say that okay we will charge นะครับ as the first amount นะครับ 30% นะครับ on the day of contract signing นะครับ after that when the development phase is finished users just like pay for 30 more percent and on the user acceptance test นะครับ sign off we get the rest of the amount of money something like that okay so this one might be the milestone to just like get the money from the company นะครับ okay when we just like finish the testing already นะครับ what else do we have to do every single information system need to have the documentation นะครับ so what are documentations that you have to prepare the documentation that we need to have is program documentation system documentation operation documentation and users documentation นะครับ so for this kind of documentation นะครับ system analyst we have to prepare it นะครับ we are responsible for preparing documentation นะครับ to help users learn the system นะครับ to help users learn the system so because I mean when we develop the system for the users already they may use it for let's say 3 or 4 or 5 years during those 3 to 5 years for sure it will be the turnover นะครับ of the staff some of the staff might get promoted to the higher position so they may not use our system anymore or they may use our system in terms of just like printing the reports only and have a look wow the position that those users used to use the system before they may recruit another person to do this job and at that time because we finish our task already you may not go back for training the users will have to learn the new users will have to learn from these documents instead นะครับ okay so when we talk about the documentation นะครับ okay for the users documentation this is for the end users นะครับ right now นะครับ it most of them นะครับ 99% of them are online นะครับ because I mean like right now we don't print this this kind of the hard copy anymore นะครับ because I mean like it will be bulky นะครับ that's why we don't print it out we just keep it as a PDF file and then store it in the share drive when there are like new users coming in you that the company or the responsible person will just let those users to read from this documentation or you may record the training videos นะครับ so when the new users coming in they may just like watch from those videos นะครับ but I mean like when you may have to upgrade the systems then it might be the time to just like recruit the training team later on that I'll discuss next on นะครับ so for users documentation is effective when we talk about effective online documentation it is important productivity tools because users will learn from this kind of document and use the system effectively นะครับ written document material also is available but I mean like right now most of the companies around the world try to just like try to be the paperless นะครับ environment so that's why they are trying to have the online documentation instead and for the online documentation some of these information systems นะครับ they just provide a share drive and let the users to see their PDF files นะครับ for training but some of the information system they just provide the online version นะครับ directly in the information system in the help section when the users just help or just like see the error you just like show the documentation about that errors นะครับ or the steps นะครับ to start that system straight away นะครับ so apart from the documentation that you must have already นะครับ you don't avoid นะครับ and you cannot avoid if you have to develop the information systems documentation is as important as the coding that you have นะครับ you all the users need to have the documentation after that นะครับ the management approval after system testing is complete you present the result to the management as I told you earlier นะครับ the user acceptance test นะครับ once you finish it นะครับ the users will sign off you have to present this sign off นะครับ document to the management and also for the unit testing นะครับ integration testing and system testing from programmers you may have a summary report just that you don't need to have the signature นะครับ from your team นะครับ okay so if the customer or the management need to have the signature นะครับ the head of the testing team may have to just like sign it นะครับ but otherwise you don't need to sign you just like have print it out or make it as a PDF and propose it to them only นะครับ if system testing produce no technical economical or operational problems นะครับ the management will determine a schedule for system installation and evaluation นะครับ so when the management approve already นะครับ we have to just like set up the system installation date and evaluation date นะครับ because it just like not one day it must be a period of time for the system installation and evaluation นะครับ the next thing is that for the system installation and evaluation นะครับ we have to do this task นะครับ okay let me delete this one now first okay so for the remaining steps that we have นะครับ the first one you have to prepare separate operational and test environment นะครับ especially if you say that you would like to set it up on a new server นะครับ so does the server work well what about the network what about the electricity นะครับ or if you would like to set it up through the cloud base นะครับ so what about the internet connection are there any ports that is blocked is everything is okay if it's okay นะครับ when you prepare the separate operational and test environment for the installation นะครับ test here is for the installation นะครับ you provide training for users managers and IT staff นะครับ so this one นะครับ the training as I told you when we finish testing already the next step is for is the training นะครับ users managers and IT staff has to know how to use the system นะครับ for their specific authorized module นะครับ perform data conversion and system change over this one as I told you is not easy นะครับ for the data conversion sometimes we may have to just like spend a month in order to do the data conversion but when can we do the data conversion when we know that the system is finished already then you can start doing the data conversion นะครับ or some of the system we gradually collect the data we gradually convert the data นะครับ for example if we say that okay the systems นะครับ that we are going to implement here นะครับ will be started from 2nd of January 2021 okay so that means right now we have around 1.5 months left you can see that if we say that the system นะครับ we use or the legacy system we used before was used since 2010 that means it's 10 years ago so the historical data that you had from 2010 until now you can start collecting or converting the data นะครับ maybe since last 6 months นะครับ on the last 6 months you may start converting the data from year 2010 to 2019 นะครับ and after that when the system finish this month นะครับ November you can start converting the data in 2020 until now นะครับ until now some of the data conversion needs to have some date first for example if we say that some of the data needs to have the data on for the month end นะครับ so that means right now you cannot convert the data of November month end because right now it's not the end of the November yet and on December we don't have the data yet because now it's the mid of November only so the things that you may have to do is that okay you may say that okay on the 2nd or 3rd of December you start converting the month end of November's data what about December you can see that firstly you have to set up the schedule properly for example if you know that the what to say holiday นะครับ the New Year holiday for this year is on the 30th of December 31st and the 1st of Jan นะครับ the things that you have to do is that the month end should be finished on the 29th of December นะครับ check carefully with your users first and on the 29th everyone just like they may have to be hurry in order to just like finish that task before they go back home นะครับ so you may say that okay on 29 directly you may not convert the data but you say that the data นะครับ will be ready in the new system on the 2nd of January because you as well during the New Year holiday you might be just like you want a holiday too so normally if you don't want to work during the New Year holiday you just say that okay for the data of the 29th of December as the month end of December you have two choices to do first one you run a batch job online นะครับ maybe at the night of 29th or on the morning of 30th when there's no one use the system the old system I mean you can convert the data download the data from the old system นะครับ and then you just start converting normally data conversion why it takes time I can tell you that data conversion normally it's not automatic task นะครับ you download the data first นะครับ the data from the old system maybe to your local computer first after that you clean the data how to clean it you have to do it manually นะครับ some fields you don't want you have to delete it some field is necessary but you have to convert for example if นะครับ in the past we said that okay the product code was start from A blah 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 but now you say that no product the product code can start from any numbers then you have to know how to change it for example if they have the standard to convert the product code you have to run that program to just convert the product code and then you just like do the next field or next column and do the things like this until you finish and when you convert the data it's not just one table it may be hundreds of tables some tables are constant you can just download to your computer and then upload to the new system straight away while some of the data is dynamic นะครับ you also have to just like clean the data first because sometimes for example if you say that you want to download the list of the sales representative you can see that okay sales representative on year 2019 and year 2020 might be different some of them might be retired some of them might be what to say quit the job already and there might be like somebody new okay that is in terms of like new number of records but I mean in terms of the columns of fields that you have to enter นะครับ in year 2019 year 2020 and the year 2021 the policy of the sales department might be changed for example in the past we said that okay we use นะครับ we use employee ID นะครับ as a sales representative number but but at the beginning of this year the manager of the sales department said no I want to use a part of the employee ID นะครับ as the sales number and also I have to use the initial first name and last name of the sales representative as a part of the sales ID as well so you have to convert already you have to cut the first name and last name for its initial name only and then just concatenate with the part of the employee ID something like that so that's why it just take a lot of time for the data conversion and it needs to check for the correctness as well นะครับ so normally who can do data conversion programmer will not do it so system analysts may have to help the users to do or you may have to let the users to do the data conversion to you นะครับ how can they do the data conversion normally the easiest tools that we use for data conversion is Excel นะครับ the things that we may do is that you send someone who are keen at Excel for example normally most of system analysts นะครับ are keen at Excel just train the users how to do that for example how to concatenate how to trim the text how to change the data type something like that So and then you have to let them know that, okay, for this field, for example, sales ID, how can you get it from? You have to tell them step by step, and after that you let them do it by themselves นะครับ it might be quicker than you let the system analyst do. Why is that? I told you already that system analyst is keen on using Excel, but how come if users analyst just do this task, why it's lower than having the users to do that? The reason is because users are the owner of those data. They know the nature of the data more than us. That's why we if we allow them to do, it's quicker than us. Apart from that one, that is their responsibility. If the system analysts or programmers of the team do everything for the data conversion, you may say that, okay, I can do it quicker. But the problem is that if you do it quicker and it's wrong, who will be responsible for it? So that's why you may have to let the users to do it for you นะครับ and after that, because I mean, like while they are doing the data conversion, you may have to do something else. For example, users who do the data conversion and users who go for training might be different group of people. Then they may do this task in parallel นะครับ while the data is converting, you have to prepare for the system changeover plan as well. So that means not just you, but it's also the what to say, project managers, the key users have to conduct the meeting for the system changeover, because you have to see that, okay, what is the possibility of just like this kind of changeover นะครับ after that we have to carry out post implementation evaluation of the system นะครับ and present a final report นะครับ for all of the data conversion นะครับ like the problems, issues from data conversion, evaluations from post implementation นะครับ these one will must have to be reported to the management